Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to a brand new book recommendations video. Tomorrow is my birthday and I thought instead of talking about my birthday in a video around it, I thought let me talk about books whose authors have spoken about themselves in those books. So basically I'm talking about autobiographies. You see what I did there? These are some autobiographies that I have read and really loved, and I really do think that you will enjoy them and you will benefit a lot from them, from learning about the experiences of these people. So there are 10 books in this video and 4 honorary mentions. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the autobiography recommendations that I have for you today. First up is a book that I am sorry not sorry that you have to bear with me talking about it this year, and that book is In Other Words by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is an autobiographical account of the author and her experience with learning the Italian language, and it is relatable to me in so many ways. She puts across so many relevant points that I found that I related to, that I understood what she was trying to say, and I understood the importance of those words, and it made me feel seen, it made me feel validated. And if you are someone who is looking to learn a new language, or who is in the process of learning a new language, or even if you don't, this is one book that will help you see the importance of going through the entire process of learning a language, and how these steps might feel small, but in fact when you persist with them over time, it's going to make a huge difference. And my god, this is one of my favorite books of this year, and I cannot stop talking about it. I think I've spoken about 3-4 times already, and you will see a lot more of this book. I'm really sure about that. But this is one recommendation that I will wholeheartedly give you. Please go try this book. It's simply brilliant. Next up is To Serve With Love by E.R. Braithwaite. This is E.R. Braithwaite's own story, obviously, and how he joins the RAF, how he experiences racism over there, and when he leaves, he applies for a teaching position in a secondary school in the East End of London, and he starts working there, and he finds that he has an unruly class of students, and these students are hell-bent on disrupting the class, on disrespecting him. But how E.R. Braithwaite brought them all into line, how he disciplined them, as well as how he taught them the important things in life while being kind but strict, forms this whole book. It is one of the best books that I read as a teenager, and I'm really glad that I read it at the time, because it told me a lot of things. It gave me a lot of new perspectives on life. Another reason why I really love this book is that it talks about how teachers are important figures in molding a student into who they become. I had a teacher who intimidated me, who scolded me, and she was not a great teacher for me personally, and I only have bad memories. I still shiver when I remember her. And when I read this book years later, I was like, oh my god, I wish she had been like this. Later on, I had some amazing teachers, so I'm really thankful for them. And reading this book is just made me really emotional. I would highly recommend it. Next up is a book that I read as part of the Partition Literature collab that we did last year, and that book is Train to India, Memories of Another Bengal by Malloy Krishnadhar. In this book, Malloy Krishnadhar talks about his experiences of the partition in Bengal. We don't talk about Bengal when we say partition. When we think partition of India, the thing that comes to our mind is the LOC, and on this side of the map, that is. But we don't talk a lot about how Bengal was partitioned, and how East Pakistan was made, and what the people of those regions went through, because they went through a huge upheaval as well. And Malloy Krishnadhar talks about his experiences, about how it was before partition, how Hindus and Muslims and everybody used to live in a sort of a close-knit community. But when the partition happened, things went downhill, and everything seemed to change in the blink of an eye. And it's a very powerful account, it's a very powerful memoir, and I would highly recommend that you read this. As mentioned before, I have spoken more about this in the Partition Literature collab that we did last year. I will leave the link here as well as in the description box below if you would like to go check it out. Next up is Persepolis, the story of a childhood and the story of a return by Marjan Satrapi. This is the author's autobiographical account told in a graphic novel format, and the author has done the illustrations herself. And this is the story of how Marjan Satrapi, given her country's turbulent history, how she escaped from it, and how Iran as a community, how changes affected that community, how the changes affected her as a person, and how it brought her to the decision that she had to move away from Tehran. The first part, the story of a childhood, is about her, the author, talking about her growing up and the lessons that she learned growing up, and how she observed the society around her, and how she eventually moved from Tehran to Vienna. And the second part, the story of a return, is about her return from Vienna to Tehran. And this graphic novel is hugely impactful. It is also informative because while the author tells us about what exactly impacted her, it also educates us. I would highly recommend this, irrespective of whether you like reading or not. I do really think that you really must read this graphic novel. It's great. Next up is Educated by Tara Westover. This is Tara Westover's account of her and her family, and she was born into a Mormon family, and her father forbade her from doing anything that was government approved, like no hospitals, no going around anywhere, no wearing sleeveless, even sleeveless shirts, no wearing dresses that are above the knee. And every time she as much as did even an inch in the opposite direction, she used to get a earful, or if I remember correctly, it was even physical. But about how this thinking actually affected her, and how this whole thing shaped her life, and how when she moved away, she realized that she had to do something about this. And what she actually does is what she tells us in the story. It is hugely impactful. It tells us about how certain certain groups of people are there who are still way more conservative than we can ever think. They are way more orthodox, and they have beliefs that we can never even imagine that they have. And how all of this affects one person is what you will learn from this story. Plus, there's also the fact that Tara educated herself because she wanted to learn, she wanted to know more about what she was capable of, and through her own hard work, she climbed the ranks, and she is where she is today. Next is They Called Us Enemy by George Takei and Justin Eisinger, Stephen Scott, and Harmony Becker. And this is George Takei's autobiographical story in graphic novel format. George Takei of Star Trek fame, we all know what a staunch activist he is, and what a staunch activist he became during the latter half of the 20th century. But he, as a kid in the early 1940s, along with his family, was detained in Japanese internment camps by the American government, and how his experiences in those camps shaped his life and shaped his way of thinking, and what it changed and did not change within him, his innate goodness, his innate kindness, and how his father had this trust in democracy, even though despite everything that they were going through at that time. It forms this entire book, and it's a very fast read, a graphic novel which you can read in, I think, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. But what you take away from it, the information that you take away from it, the feeling that you feel for George Takei, especially I think he was 8 or 10 years old at the time, this would come way high on the list of graphic novels that I would highly recommend, as well as obviously Autobiography. Next is Becoming by Michelle Obama. The former First Lady of the United States is such an inspiring figure in the world, and in this book we read about her life and how she worked her way up, and with her own grit, determination and hard work, and her family life, as well as how she met Barack Obama and how they fell in love, how they got married, what kind of a man he is, and how she changed his life and how he affected her life in return. Her being the person that she is in her own right is such a great thing to read. It's so inspiring, and to read it in her own words, as she talks about her parents, her mother, her relationship with her brother and how close they all are, and her daughters and everything, family, as well as how the outside world fit in it, and how the outside world viewed her. She calls out the sexism, the blatant sexism and misogyny that the world was directing at her when she was campaigning alongside Barack Obama, and it was disgusting to see that the world does that, but I don't think I should be surprised because the world is like that. Becoming is such a great autobiography to get through, and I haven't listened to the audiobook, but I've heard that the audiobook makes it even better. Next is Unstoppable by Maria Sharapova. I did not expect to love this book the way I did, but this is a very passionate account of Maria Sharapova's life, about how her life started from a small village in Russia, and how her father brought her to the United States of America to allow her to get the training that she deserved for tennis, obviously, and how she slogged and how she came up in the tennis world and how she came up in life, and everything leading up to that decision that changed her life. And I'm really still reeling from the unfairness of it, because one day the drug that she was supposed to be taking for her health is completely legal and valid, but the next day the committee decides that it is invalid and illegal, and suddenly she is accused of taking performance enhancing drugs, and just is left for the world to eat away at her. That how fair is that? Like I just mentioned, I don't like how the world works, but the way Maria Sharapova handled all of it, and how she was on court fierce, and she was there to win. She was not there to make friendships, as she makes it clear. I mean, I don't agree with a few of the things that she says, but then I see where she's coming from, and that makes this book a really formidable autobiography for you to read. It is inspiring, it is gritty, and it is something that you should definitely read. Next, no autobiography list is complete without this book, and that is Anne Frank, Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. And this is a collection of diary entries that Anne Frank wrote while hiding in an attic, and it's just gut-wrenching because you know how it ends. It ends abruptly, but you know what happened later. She was captured, she and her family were captured. The only person from their family to survive was her father, Otto, I think. And the way she added exuberance to her writings in the diary, she wrote in the Dutch language when they were hiding out in the Netherlands. It was written by a teenage girl, but it is one of the most important pieces of literature in the history of literature, if you would ask me. Last but not the least is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. Lori Gottlieb is a therapist herself, and in this book she talks about the importance of therapists and about her own interactions with her own therapist, because therapists also need therapists, especially since they are taking it so much of the people that they care for. In this book, Lori Gottlieb is talking about mental health. It's the importance of making sure that your mental health is on the right track, while recognizing that you need someone to talk to, and while acknowledging that the world isn't kind to people who accept that they do have mental health issues. It's a great autobiographical book, and there's a lot of gems that you can find, some truths, some advice, and some observations on life. This is one book that I would definitely recommend for mental health, for non-fiction, for autobiographies, all of these. Please do go ahead and read it. It's going to be worth it. In addition to these, I have 4 honorary mentions. One is My Shit Therapist and Other Mental Health Stories by Michelle Thomas, in which she talks about her own mental health, her relationship with her therapist, what in her life has affected her mental health, and she also shares snippets from people that she has asked to share snippets from. And second is A Taste of My Life by Chitrita Banerjee. Chitrita Banerjee is a well-known food writer, and in this book she relates events in her life to certain recipes and she shares them, and it's very heartwarming to read, and the recipes are seriously mouth-watering. The anecdotes that she shares from her life are very sweet, are very heartwarming. And then is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is Maya Angelou's autobiography from when she was a child, and everything that she went through, be it abuse, be it racism, be it sexism, everything that she went through, she has brought together in this book. And though I wasn't a fan of the writing much, but I do think that it's an important book to read. And last but not the least, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. George M. Johnson has shared this sort of memoir manifesto for black trans teens who don't have anybody to look up to, and they have done a fabulous job with putting this book together. It's very open, it's heartwarming, heart-wrenching, and a very important piece of literature as we know it. So those were the 10 plus 4 autobiography recommendations that I had for you. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What is your favorite autobiography? And which of these autobiographies do you think you are going to try? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.